What is going on, Trash Talkers? We're back with another episode for you. In today's video, we're going to be giving you our post-draft NFL power rankings. All that and much more coming your way right now! Hey Trash Talkers, it's Mike here. Over 93% of you who view our show each and every day are not subscribed to the channel. If you could hit that red subscribe button, it would help us out tremendously, and it is completely free for you guys. If you want to stay up to date with our daily content, then click that bell icon and you will be notified every time we go live. Nick and I both really appreciate you subscribing to the channel, and we can't wait to keep making more daily content for you. All right, Nick. Well, now that the draft is over, we have free agency pretty much over and done with, maybe a few moves here and there. I think it's a good time to revisit 1 through 32, the power rankings list that we came out earlier. That was pre-draft, that was pre-free agency, that was pre-everything. A lot of players have changed teams, a lot of teams have changed coaches, different front offices. I mean, there's been a whole mess of moves that we've gone through over this offseason. I think it's time to reorder these teams and kind of put them into perspective of where we expect to see them this season. So let's move over and take a look at the first two teams.
That's exactly right. And we start off with 32 and 31, the Texans at 32 and the Philadelphia Eagles at 31. Right now, the Houston Texans are at the bottom of the barrel. They've got below average talent all around, and Deshaun Watson, let's face it, he's not playing. For the Philadelphia Eagles, they're also a huge mess. They just got Ryan Kerrigan today in a huge deal, and that's going to go a long way, but I just don't think it's enough for them to be any better than the second worst team in the league.
Yeah, I mean, I think both of these teams have a lot of room for improvement. The Texans just hired Nick Caserio this year, so they're obviously in the middle of rebuild. All the free agents that they brought in, all 16 of them, were on one-year deals, so this is not a long-lasting thing. They got to the salary cap floor, and they're going to move on from there. The Eagles, they have a plan in place with Howie Roseman. They know exactly what they're going to do. They're going to move on with that. All right, next up we have 30 through 21. We're going to take a look at the Detroit Lions at number 30, the Atlanta Falcons at 29, Jacksonville Jaguars at 28, the Cincinnati Bengals at 27, the Denver Broncos at 26, the Chicago Bears at 25, the Las Vegas Raiders at 24, the New Orleans Saints at 23, the New York Jets at 22, the Pittsburgh Steelers at 21. Just taking a look at some of these teams, I think that the Jacksonville Jaguars, they're here because of how young their team is, because of all the talent that they were able to acquire. They showed some real promise last year. Even though they weren't able to fully win games, they showed that getting the running back situation and that offensive line situation all taken care of put them in a position to only have to bring in a guy like Trevor Lawrence and then bring in some other weapons that they did through free agency, through the draft. So they have the offense pretty much set. Now it's about building up that defense. I think you're going to see probably about 3, 4, maybe even 5 wins out of this team this year. So I really like where the Jacksonville Jaguars are headed. And then to say that the Bears and the Raiders are kind of a little low on this list, I would understand that. But the problem is with the Bears, I don't believe in Andy Dalton, and I don't think Justin Fields is starting right away. In fact, I believe that he won't start until maybe even week 9, 10, or even 11. I think they're going to let him learn this offense. They're going to slow groom him. If you take a look at the history of the Chicago Bears, they really don't start young quarterbacks unless it's Mitchell Trubisky, in which case we saw how that worked out. So I believe that they're trying to hold off, let him learn the system, let him learn this team, let him learn the NFL before they bring him in. That defense, we know what they're going to be about, but this offense, you lost a lot of pieces on this offense. You got to rebuild this offensive line. They haven't done anything to address that. I think that there's still plenty of holes on the offensive side of the ball that's going to keep them down. I think that, between these two teams, they deserve to be pretty low on this list.
The biggest surprise on this list is the New Orleans Saints. To me, the New Orleans Saints are one of the biggest names in football, and to see them as one of the bottom 15 teams in the league is astonishing. But you got to take a look at the roster and where it is. Drew Brees is gone. That entire defensive line is absolutely destroyed. You lost big linebackers. You don't have a weapon outside of Alvin Kamara and Michael Thomas. This team is going nowhere fast. They don't have a direction they're going in, and they're playing circus with Taysom Hill and Jameis Winston. So you can't say that this team is going to put up 10 wins in this season when Jameis Winston never got close to that number. Taysom Hill has a lot to be desired and a lot to prove still. I think this team is going to be one of the worst teams one of the teams that we see fall the biggest in the last decade or so. They are going to be a huge surprise. The Steelers are another one of those teams that had a huge season last year until they lost 4 of their last 5 and lost in the first round of the playoffs. They're going to continue that slide. They just did not improve on defense where they need help the most. They got a run game in Najee Harris, but what did you do with that offensive line? You didn't replace Marquise Pouncey. You let Alejandro Villanueva go to the Ravens. This offensive line is not going to be able to hold up Big Ben, who's reaching 40 and can barely throw the ball anymore. He needs time in the pocket to work. That defense has nobody left. Mike Hilton's gone. You need to get players in here who are actually going to help them stay solid. You've got TJ Watt, but now you lost his running mate, Bud Dupree, to the Tennessee Titans. You didn't replace him. There are some major holes, and I think that the Steelers are going to suffer tremendously this season. Next up, we have the Tennessee Titans at 20. At 19, we have the San Francisco 49ers. At 18, we have the Carolina Panthers. At 17, the Dallas Cowboys. At 16, the Minnesota Vikings. At 15, the Washington Football Team. At 14, the Seattle Seahawks. 13, the New York Giants. At 12, the Los Angeles Chargers. And finally, at 11, the Miami Dolphins. Starting off, let's talk about the Tennessee Titans. This team lost a ton of offensive weapons, but they still have Derrick Henry, and that's why they're going to win some games this season. But the loss of Corey Davis, the loss of Jonnu Smith, that needs to be talked about, because don't expect A.J. Brown to be the same wide receiver this season. He doesn't have somebody to take pressure off of him. In fact, there's more defenders than ever to now go cover A.J. Green because there's nobody else that needs to be covered on this offense. You can let the front seven handle Derrick Henry all day long. Ryan Tannehill is a solid quarterback, and he's really coming to his own at Tennessee, but I just don't think he has the athleticism, the ability to run around the field making Patrick Mahomes type plays, to extend plays and really make something out of nothing. This defense also, the secondary is tremendously porous right now. You have Kevin Byard, you have Adoree Jackson, you got Caleb Farley, who could potentially be something for you if he's healthy. But right now, this roster is just not going anywhere. Bud Dupree was a great add. You need to fix up this pass rush, something that was really neglected last season. So you really upped your game there. But to me, the secondary is the most important part of a defense, because you need to be able to contain these wide receivers. They're becoming faster than ever. If you saw any of the 40 times on these rookies, they're all running sub 4.4s in the 4.3s. And right now, the Tennessee Titans don't have anybody that can really handle them. And for the San Francisco 49ers, this is a team that was one of the best. They were in the NFC Championship game and in the Super Bowl 2 years ago, suffered a ton of injuries last year, but now they get all their weapons back, except this offense has lost a ton of weapons at wide receiver and running back. You're now relying on some young guys to carry the load, and when we look at the 49ers running backs, they can never stay healthy. When we look at the wide receivers, they can never stay healthy, and they don't have depth at either position. Jimmy Garoppolo is really going to struggle. Even if Trey Lance takes over, he's still going to struggle. And you can't count on this defense to really help them out. The front seven's there, but when you look at the secondary, you haven't signed Richard Sherman back. They're missing a bunch of weapons that really need to help them out. I just don't think that this is the 49ers team that we have seen in the last couple of years. They lost Robert Salah as their defensive coordinator. Huge loss for guys like Nick Bosa and Arik Armstead. I think that this team is going to suffer tremendously.
Yeah, I would agree with both of those. And when we put this list together, I took a look at, kind of where we ended up, and it just pains me to see the Cowboys so low on this list at number 17. But You made a good point. When I fought to move them up, you said, who's going to defend on defense? Who's going to cover these wide receivers that New York has, that Washington now has? Who's going to cover these guys? I don't have an answer for you. So I think the Cowboys have to be here. They have to sit back because they lost Alden Smith. They don't have the pass rush that they were supposed to have last year. They lose Sean Lee and you get Micah Parsons, but Micah Parsons is still a rookie. He's going to have a bit of a learning curve. At cornerback, you got Trayvon Diggs, who was phenomenal last year, but who's running with him? I mean, I don't trust any of the guys that they have available. So at this point, I'm really concerned about what the back end of this defense is going to be able to do, holding up in a division where they are now loaded at the wide receiver position. Even the Eagles have good wide receivers now, and the ability to torch some of the worst DBs in the league. The Dallas Cowboys are in a rough spot on defense, so I think they have to be here at number 17. And then moving up, the Seattle Seahawks are an interesting one. A lot of people would assume that this is a top 10 team, and I just can't subscribe to that idea. I can't think about the Seattle Seahawks being a top 10 team when they refuse to really focus on the offensive line. In fact, I think that they got a lot worse on the defensive side of the ball as well. They had their number one corner walk out the door with zero replacement coming in. And on top of that, they didn't have any draft capital to be able to resupply this team with young talent in such a deep and talented draft. They didn't have anything available to them, and this team is going to suffer in an age where you take a look at the Arizona Cardinals, that's a pretty stacked roster. The San Francisco 49ers, you might have just gone through some of their ailments and their illnesses, but as an organization, they're going to play this team very tough, and they have the talent to be able to compete with them. And then I take a look at the Los Angeles Rams, and this team's going to torch the Seattle Seahawks. So I give them the benefit of the doubt because they have Russell Wilson. If you take him out of the equation, this team is a bottom 10, bottom 5 franchise. It really is. Anyway, so let's move on to the top 10 of our power rankings. Looking at number 10, we have the New England Patriots. At number 9, the Arizona Cardinals. At number 8, the Baltimore Ravens. The number 7, the Green Bay Packers. Number 6, the Indianapolis Colts. The number 5, the Los Angeles Rams. Number 4, the Cleveland Browns. At number 3, the Buffalo Bills. Number 2, the Kansas City Chiefs. And at number 1, the reigning Super Bowl champion, Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I got to talk about this. At number 10, we have the New England Patriots. And with all of the offseason additions that they made through the draft, through free agency, this team looks completely different than the team that they shoved out there week 1 or even week 17 of last year. I mean, this team is completely overhauled, getting players back from the COVID-ridden season where they had the most opt-outs. You're getting a lot of key talent back. A lot of leaders are coming back. Cam Newton's coming back healthy. I expect that this roster, with all of the overturn and all of the moves that they made, to start moving in their favor. And they started building this roster the way Bill Belichick wanted it to be built out. They're going to be heavy running on the football. They built out the offensive line to be able to run the ball down anyone's throat against any defensive line at all. And they have the ability to pass the ball through the middle of the field with the dual tight end system that Josh McDaniels loves to run with Jonnu Smith and Hunter Henry coming into New England. I think that this is the team that Bill Belichick wanted post Tom Brady. Maybe not Cam Newton, but he has Mac Jones waiting in the wings, and I think that's all you could ask for from a New England Patriots team with Bill Belichick still at the helm, that they have a plan in place to move forward, and I expect them to be a playoff team. Moving on, I do believe that the Cleveland Browns are a specific team I wanted to shout out here because all of the offseason moves that they made, we talked about it pre-draft, getting Troy Hill, getting John Johnson from the Los Angeles Rams really solidified their position of not really having a hole. The only position that we really thought might be of issue to them is the linebacker position, but they were able to figure that out in the draft, and they've brought in some guys through free agency that have really helped them. Adding Jadeveon Clowney opposite Myles Garrett was just the icing on the cake for me. This is a top team in the NFL, and the only reason I honestly don't have them above the Chiefs is because I need to see it play out. But I believe in this team. I believe that they are the best team in the AFC, and I'm really excited for the direction this team is taking.
Now, a team I really want to focus on is the Los Angeles Rams because this is a team that's really going to surprise a lot of people. To me, they're the best team by far in their division, the toughest division in the NFL. And when you look at this roster, trading for Matthew Stafford was absolutely massive. But then you go out, you get rookie wide receivers to tack on to Robert Woods and Cooper Kupp, as well as getting Deshaun Jackson, a guy who has proven he still has the wheels to take the top off any defense. Plus, you add Raheem Morris to replace Brandon Staley. I think that's a huge replacement for one of the best defensive coordinators we've seen in a while. Raheem Morris really took a bad Atlanta Falcons defense and turned them into a team that could really handle top tier offenses. Now he has a bunch of talent to work with. Now he has guys like Aaron Donald and Leonard Floyd and Jalen Ramsey to work with. These are guys he's never had before, and he has a new level of talent that he can now bring to another echelon that we've never seen before. To me, this team has so much talent and has one of the best coaching staffs in the NFL. I think that they're going to set new bars for everyone. They're going to be the team that surprises everybody the most. I think that they are going to go really, really far this season. And the Buffalo Bills, right now, they are on the cusp of getting past the Kansas City Chiefs. They faced them a couple times. They're going to get a feel for them in the regular season, and I think that this is going to be the year that the Buffalo Bills finally have a better season than Kansas City Chiefs. I think that their defense and their offense are just too sound. They have too much talent, and the addition of Gregory Rousseau cannot go overlooked. Just because they already have a ton of talent on the defensive line doesn't mean that one more is going to make them bad all of a sudden. It's going to make them even better. Greg Rousseau is going to be an absolute monster for them, a guy who had small tape in college, but now it's going to finally translate to the NFL, and he's going to prove to be one of the biggest steals of the draft. What he can do in multiple packages is really going to help out this front seven and the secondary. I think he's really going to help with this edge rush and the attack on quarterbacks for the defense. And on the offensive side of the ball, Josh Allen still has Stephon Diggs, finally gets an offseason to actually work with this man. And then you replace John Brown with Emmanuel Sanders. You still have Cole Beasley. These guys are really going to help Josh Allen. They're really going to go far. And then you add Matt Breida to a backfield that desperately needed a guy of his caliber. I think that they now have a three-headed monster. They can rotate in and out. They are going to stay healthy together because they don't have to carry the load as much. I think this is the team that the Bills have been looking for all along, and they finally have it. Josh Allen gets better each and every year. I can't wait to see what he does in year 4. I think that this is finally the Bills' year to take over the AFC.
Yeah, I could definitely wait. I don't want to see the Bills do anything spectacular just because I'm a Patriots fan. I don't want to see that at all. But that'll be all for now. Thank you all for watching. Make sure to like this video and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Hit that notification bell. We go live every single day. That'll be all. Peace and love.